Hello everyone, this is Manny and welcome to my channel. This channel is all about tech and camera gear and approaching it in a very minimal way. Over the course of many years in my filmmaking career, I've actually been the person that's had a lot of equipment, a lot of camera bodies, multiple lenses, multiple audio equipment, lights, stands, latest gadgets and toys. And recently I've kind of been on this journey of kind of simplifying everything that I have for multiple reasons, but I just wanted to kind of strip down and just really focus on being minimal with my gear and equipment and what I have, and making it have purpose and a meaning behind it. Over the course of me making more videos, you'll notice that be a subject around kind of what I talk about. But of course, I love gear. I love the newest cameras, the newest lenses, the newest technology. So from time to time, I've always talked about some of those things as well. But I always talk about making sensible purchases and making sure that what you do get is something that has a purpose and that you're going to use. It's going to be very practical as well. However, today I'm going to talk about my favorite purchases of 2021. Let's get started. So at number one, I have the Shure MV7, which is a microphone that I'm using right now. It's an extremely powerful and versatile USB microphone that actually has an XLR connection as well. Now, I bought this originally because I was doing Zoom meetings with the church group every week and I wanted to up my audio quality. But I also used it for when I was gaming, streaming a little bit here and there. I'm using it now for these YouTube videos. So it's extremely versatile, can use for multiple applications. Now, most people tend to go when they get recommended a microphone for, like, let's say they want to start podcasting or YouTube videos. The typical microphone that everyone uses is the SM7B, which is about a $400 microphone that still needs a cloud lifter alongside an audio interface that needs to be connected to your computer for it to even function. Now, this microphone is a USB microphone, but it also has an XLR out, meaning that I can actually go XLR into my audio recorder, which I'm doing right now, into my mix pre, but at the same time still have the USB connection connected to my computer, and I can use it for multiple applications. It automatically gets detected and it works with Mac or PC. So for example, for when I have Zoom meetings, I can just change that input and output for Zoom meetings to be the Shure MV7, and it detects the microphone as a USB microphone. And the same thing with multiple other applications. Like for my work meetings, I did the same thing. When I was gaming, I was doing the same thing. But the most powerful thing that I think about this USB microphone is the application that it comes with it. So the application is the Shure Plus Motive app. It's an application that you can download for Shure's website that's for Mac or PC. And when you use this application with the microphone via USB, you actually have access to a lot more powerful EQ settings for your microphone. So you can go in there, adjust your gain, you can add an EQ, you can add some compression, add a limiter in case you yell too much, and you can adjust the volume of the headphone output on the back of the microphone. It's a very powerful USB microphone that I think is something that you can purchase that sounds great and you can actually grow into, because you can use it straight off as a USB microphone and you can make it sound amazing with the app. But if you ever want to go out in the field or like record, say, a podcast, but you want a little bit more control and you just want the raw XLR that comes out of it, you have access to that as well. And when I bought this microphone, it had just came out. It was incredible. And now I think they have another version as well that's an XLR only version that's actually cheaper. So if you wanted to save a little money, you don't really need the USB microphone, and you just want the XLR out for something less that sounds close to an SM7B for a fraction of the price, then this is a microphone for you. Next, at number two, I have the MX Keys and MX Master 3. By far has been my favorite keyboard and mouse setup. Now, I used to use this mechanical keyboard by Razer because I used to try to game on it. I thought I was going to be the best Warzone player ever, right? And so I ended up keeping it and never really used it, but that's what I used. I used this for work, I used it for editing, I used it for kind of multiple different things, and but I also used it for my work computer as well, alongside my personal Mac. So the issue that I ran into is that I wanted to use a keyboard and mouse, an external keyboard and mouse for both my Mac and my PC, but I didn't want to have two of each for both of my computers. So what I ended up doing was actually using a KVM switch that would basically, you would plug in your keyboard and mouse into the switch, then you have two USB cables, one for one computer, one for the other, and you just click a button and it would switch the keyboard and mouse from one computer to the other. Now, it was kind of clunky, but it worked, and it kept my desk a little bit cleaner, but it didn't just work 100%, and I kind of hated the way that you have to do things. You have to actually press a physical button. So what I ended up doing is doing some research, and I found the MX Master 3 as my mouse, and the MX keys as my keyboard. So what's amazing is with both of these devices is you can actually connect them up to 3 devices each. So your keyboard has numbers 1, 2, and 3. So you can connect to 3 different devices. They could be a Mac, this could be a PC, or even like an iPad. Same thing with the mouse. You can do the same thing with both of them. But I think where this combination excels by Logitech is with the application. Once you download the application on both computers, there's a function called Flow. And what Flow does is basically that once you have it synced up with one computer, both computers have this application installed, you can actually set it up to where if you move your cursor to a certain part of your screen, it'll actually move your mouse and your keyboard to a different computer that's synchronized. So I have my work computer and my personal Mac and a side by side. They share the same monitor. I just change the input. And whenever I want to switch over from my work computer to my personal computer, I have it set up to where I just hit Control, move my cursor to one side of the screen, and it switches my keyboard and mouse over to my personal computer and vice versa. It's extremely powerful. It works very well and makes it very nice and simple and minimal, where I don't have to kind of have anything crazy. It's all wireless. There's no wires, just when I need to charge it. Also, this keyboard and mouse looks incredible. It's very elegant, it's very clean, very minimal. It's very simple. There's no wires, only when you have to charge it. So I just think it looks really, really good on my desk, and it makes it even easier that it's really simple to use and it looks great. So number 3, I have my absolute favorite purchase of 2021 by far. That's my Canon EOS R6. So this is the camera that I switched to recently this year. Before, I've shot multiple things. I've shot Sonys, I've shot Fujis, I've shot Blackmagics, and I kind of had too much gear. I had a lot of lenses, everything being kind of cumbersome. And I decided that I wanted to kind of strip everything down and be very minimal in my way, how I shoot and how I approach gear and as a whole. So I did a lot of research and tried to find the best hybrid camera at a very good price. I don't want to say affordable price, because this camera, for what it does, is very affordable in my opinion, but not a lot of people are going to be able to just go out and buy this easily. But it's also not a very premium camera, because at the $2,500 price tag, there's multiple other cameras that do more and cost way more as well. So after my research, I came to the conclusion that the Canon R6 was the camera that I wanted to buy. It is 4K 60 in 10-bit color when you shoot log. When it came out, when I purchased it, it only allowed you to do C-Log. But later with the firmware update, it came out and allowed you to do actually C-Log 3. So now I shoot in 4K 60 in 10-bit color in C-Log 3. And I'm telling you, it looks incredible. I love shooting with this camera. It does have some limitations where it does overheat every now and then, especially if you're doing kind of long take rolls, kind of what I'm doing right now. But for the most part, what I use it for kind of just for some family photos and video, but I mainly use it for weddings. I don't use this to actually shoot long form content. The way I shoot is just small, short clips. So I know how to manage it well throughout the wedding day to where I don't run into this issue. Or even if I do start running into this issue, I know a couple of tricks that I can do just to make sure that the camera just keeps recording and it doesn't kind of leave me out high and dry. This camera as well is amazing for pictures. It has a 20 megapixel sensor, which most people think like 20 megapixels is a little on the low end, which comparatively it is, but 20 megapixels is more than enough for anything that you might need. So it takes amazing pictures, takes amazing video. The price tag is about $2,500 US, and I've actually found it cheaper, even new, at other camera stores. So I bought mine actually for about $2,200 brand new from a camera store that was on Green Toe. So I just got their contact information, reached out to them, and I was able to get the camera at that price with and even having to pay taxes. Taxes were included already. So when I bought the camera, I ended up buying also the RF to EF mount adapter, which allowed me to use EF class on this camera. So I didn't feel like I was missing anything out by not having RF lenses. Honestly, the EF lenses work amazing with the Canon adapter. The autofocus works great. The image quality looks fantastic. Honestly, there's nothing that you're really lacking if you're using adaptive glass. However, the RF glass is amazing if you ever get the chance to use it. One time I needed to borrow kind of 50 millimeter from a buddy of mine because I needed to shoot. I was second shooting a wedding for another friend, but I wanted to try out the 50 millimeter. So he has the RF 50 millimeter 1.2 lens, and I looked at that lens like, oh, I'm sure 1.2 is amazing at RF, but the price tag was about $2,400, and I was like, there's no way that lens is worth that much money. Especially when you can get the EF version of it for like $1,000 cheaper. Regardless, I borrowed the lens. I used it for a wedding, and I fell in love. That lens just worked incredibly. The autofocus was faster. It was smoother. The image quality was incredible. It definitely looked better than the EF version. It was sharper. The focus was faster. Even in low light, it was faster. And honestly, it just has like a special kind of character and look to it that I just absolutely loved. I used this for one wedding, and I couldn't get it out of my mind. I ended up waiting a couple weeks just to make sure that it wasn't an impulsive purchase, but I still wanted to get this lens and ended up buying it. So at number 4 is the Canon RF 50mm 1.2. I think this is absolutely my favorite lens that I've ever used in my entire life. I've used quite a bit of glass, and I'm a sucker for Zeiss glass as well. But there isn't any autofocus lenses for Canon that are Zeiss lenses. But this Canon RF 50mm 1.2, it's got to be Canon's best RF lens. It's incredible. It looks incredible. It focuses amazing. It's super fast and reliable. The image quality is just extremely sharp, and just the bokeh looks incredible. And I know I've said incredible multiple times, but this lens is definitely special. It's something special about this lens, and there's something special with that price tag too. It's a very expensive lens. It's about $2,400 brand new US. And I ended up just waiting until I found a used one come up in one of the camera stores, and ended up buying it for like $1,900 US used. I do not regret this one bit. This is by far my favorite lens. I use it all the time. I recently shot a wedding for some friends of ours where I was kind of solo shooting. I was the lead shooter solo shooting when my buddy who let me borrow the lens earlier was shooting photos. And I shot with this lens because at this wedding, everything was kind of close. It was kind of a small ceremony location, small reception location. So I shot with my 50mm probably about 85 to 90% of the entire wedding day. And when I tell you the images I was getting with this lens were just incredible. Proper lighting and just kind of moving things around how we do. Everything just looks so good. It's definitely a lens that I highly recommend. If you can afford it, hey, buy it. It's a no-brainer. Like, once you use it, you know this lens is special. So these are my favorite purchases of gear for 2021. This year I didn't want to spend too much. I ended up having to I sold a bunch of items, a bunch of cameras and lenses, and I wanted to take a minimal approach. So as we talked through the video, I have one camera body, 2 lenses, a couple pieces of audio equipment, and I'm keeping everything very minimal, and I'm loving it so far. That's kind of what I've been into lately, what I want to keep doing moving forward. It's just kind of taking a look at what the gear is that I'm using, taking a look at everything, making sure that what I have, it has a functional use, that I have it, that I'm actually going to use it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Links are in the description for all the items that I mentioned here today if you want to check them out. But I'll see you guys on the next time. Peace.